The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
We have Mike from Chicago on the line, and he has a question about digestion.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
First of all, I just wanted to say that I love the show. I think it's great programming, and I'm very much of a like mind when it comes to, taking control of your own health and certainly doing your own research.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Happy Friday and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, exploring our return to a more balanced, natural, wild world where we have personal choice, personal health, and personal freedom. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nico Haan.
And I'm Paige Clarke.
Beautiful Friday. It's cool. It's a beautiful day in downtown
I got my boots on. I got my little pleather.
I know. You look
my pleather pants.
Really sexy, too. Please subscribe to our Health Signals newsletter, folks, even though it's freezing down here at 59 degrees. Probably freezing everywhere.
Yeah, we don't have it too bad.
And please order our new nutrition. This is a balanced nutrition. It's called Primal Edge, and it's something you take daily in a liquid.
To give you the edge on life.
Yeah, it gives you the edge on life, and really it's fueled by these two wonderful ingredients called humic and fulvic acid.
Called miracle molecules, actually.
They are, and
Nature's miracle molecules.
Indeed, and what they actually do is deliver the product to the cells. So they resonate with the cells, open up the cells, and say, here is the goodies.
And give us that great membrane potential so that the good stuff gets in and the bad stuff gets out.
Right.
Having great feedback from those of you that are ordering it. Remember, you can order it, and Tom is so awesome, and he's letting people use Tiger dollars to get it.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty cool right there.
What can you ask for?
And you can do this all on the TFNN website, TFNN.com. And we're taking your calls here at Living a Primal Lifestyle at 877-927-6648. So I found this interesting article.
Why doctors die differently.
Yeah, and I'll just read a little bit of this. Years ago, Charlie, a highly respected orthopedist and a mentor of mine, found a lump in his stomach. It was diagnosed as pancreatic cancer by one of the best surgeons in the country, who developed a procedure that could triple the patient's 5-year survival odds.
From 5% to
15%, albeit with a poor quality of life. And the reason this struck me, of course, is my dad had pancreatic cancer. And so he was really preparing himself.
Your dad did?
Yeah, my dad. He, at the age of 74. It was actually 72 when they diagnosed it. Gave him about 6 months to live, but he lived another 2 years. So he had that time to prepare. But this interesting article, Charlie was 68 years old and uninterested in doing the procedure. He went home the next day, closed his practice, never set a foot in the hospital again. He focused on spending time with his family. Several months later, he died at home. He got no chemo, no radiation, no surgical treatment. Medicare didn't spend a penny on him. And
that's really what the preface of this article says, is that what's unusual about doctors is not how much treatment they get compared to other Americans, but how little. What do they know that we don't know? Well, I'll tell you one thing we know, is that studies have shown that over close to 80% of all doctors who, in a survey, have said that if they did get a diagnosis of cancer, would refuse chemotherapy for themselves or their close family members.
Right. Yeah, so. And this is what this whole article really alludes to. It's very good. In fact, they talk about CPR also in this, which really, CPR was invented really to keep the brain alive. So you stimulate artificially to keep the brain going. But the success rate in this whole thing, they had 67% of the people who had the CPR. This is more than 9,500 cases. A study in 2010 found that only 8% of the patients survived more than 1 month. Of these, only about 3% could lead a normal life.
Well, that wasn't 9,500, it was 95,000 cases.
Okay, excuse me, 95,000 cases, yeah. And it's what they're saying is that, the CPR, you see that on TV and boom, everybody walks around. That's not really how it works when you're in that state. And remember, a true CPR really is compressing the chest and really breaking the ribs in a sense, too. Especially if you're kind of in real dire straits. So you find often that some of the ribs are hurt, and it's hard for people to recover from stuff like that, especially when you're already in a bad state.
Well, it's kind of like, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? What would you do? And the doctors are saying, we're asked this. Physicians really try to honor their patients' wishes, but when the patients ask, what would you do? We often avoid answering. We don't want to impose our views on the vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so it probably is a very difficult situation to be in, because probably what their business is diabolically opposite of what they would actually do for themselves, found in the same situation, is what it looks like.
And that's the whole point of this article. And my dad didn't do any treatments. Mm-hmm. And it took him 2 years to die, but he prepared very well, spent more time with us, and really changed a lot of lives just in those 2 years from the way he was just so cool. He was the coolest dad in the world. He always was that way anyway, but it just seemed more so then. And that last 3 or 4 months, he was an amazing guy.
It's such a personal decision, don't you think, Nico?
Well, it has to be
we
ours.
think about this, we hear about people that, really, you have to really support, and, I've had to learn this lesson, because sometimes you love people, and you have your own views, and you think your views are right, and you have to be careful not to impose them. But you hear the stories of people that move forward with their treatment, maybe it's a chemoradiation, and they have great success.
Yeah.
And then you have people who make the decision to do nothing, and they've got a disease that has a poor prognosis, and like that Greek guy who refused it and went on to live 20 years,
I guess when your time is up, your time is up.
The point is it's how we live. I saw something go across that said it's not what happens when we die, but do we live while we're alive?
Well, and that is the whole point, too. And this kind of, I started thinking about the whole terrorist stuff, too, that's happening in France. And now I heard a commentator saying, the French are kind of looking at it, because when we came to America as the Dutch people, or Italians or whatever, we tried to become Americans.
Right.
Okay, and that's pretty much how things happen. I know in a tribal situation, if you want to move in with the tribe, you have to become the tribe. But here we have a segment of a population now moving into, say, Dearborn, Michigan, and saying, okay, we're going to keep this as Muhammad would keep it, or Jesus would keep it, or whatever, and trying to make what you had into the new country. And that really doesn't work that well, because you get a lot of, and especially if you start going, okay, now my belief has to be the law, and if you don't, I'm going to kill you. This is what's happening.
Well, we need to really honor our belief systems.
It just reminds me of the whole medical thing. It seems to be the same thing.
I agree with you. And, just kind of in summary, this article, which was written by Dr. Murray, a retired clinical assistant professor of family medicine at the University of Southern California, he makes the point, as for me, my doctors have my choices on record. And maybe that's a great idea when you are of sound mind and body, to make sure that the people around you, your doctors or whatever, know what your choices are, to make it easier on all the people around you, and also so that the people around you can support you in what your wishes are.
In the article, that they were saying, too, that only a certain small percentage of people are doing this, but a very high percentage of doctors do this. About 65% of doctors have it already laid out, where the average American maybe only 20 or 25%.
Yeah, again, on the fly, I'm forgetting his name, but we've talked about it on the show, that neurosurgeon that has recently written the book about life after death. Remember, he's the one that had the near-death experience and has written a bestseller book right now.
We were talking
about it on the show. It said, what happened is he ended up getting like an encephalitis type of thing, and he told his wife when something was going on, do not call emergency medical. So same sort of thing.
Yes.
He already says, I don't want to go through that.
Right.
Don't want to go through that. Let it happen. But, things did happen, and he did survive, and he's got some great information for us.
Yeah, I think we're just creating a culture, a medical type of culture in this country, and perhaps in the whole Western society, where we're really relying on the fire engine and the EMTs and all these people way too much. And of course, people are feeling sick, and I think a lot has to do with our lifestyle, our diet, that we're doing in this modern age. And that's why Primal, the first kind of structure that we had. We self-organize. We've said this very often. Most things self-organize, and we're part of the natural world. So why can't we self-organize without these big companies, these big political parties?
And we can, and we're doing it. And that's what we're talking about on this show, guys, is
you can only do it on a personal level, though.
It's a self-empowerment.
Yeah, it has to come from within you. You have to do it yourself, and we can't force other people into things. And, you know, we can discuss things, but, I mean, to say this is the only way, of course it's not the only way. Different people are going to live differently.
Oh, and again, what we really espouse here is a primal lifestyle. The name of our show, Living a Primal Lifestyle. Primal, the ideology of that word meaning primal, meaning doing the most important things first. And to me, that is taking care of yourself in a natural way, along with the natural world. So why is the paleo diet, or primal diet, as I like to infuse that term to broaden it, why is it the best low-carb fat loss diet?
Well, I think it's because it also pays attention to the quality of what you're eating. Whereas if you just say low carb, you just cut out a certain amount of food, and no matter where it comes from, it seems to be all right. I think the Primal has it right because we focus on where you get your energy from. And
like what you just said just previously.
Yes.
To integrate us back into the natural world, to realize, because we've lived in this world of separatism and that we're different and that we have different germs and don't be afraid of the world, and now when we start to integrate back into our environment and connecting with our soil and where our food comes from and who's making it, and you know, you could easily call the primal diet the great-great-great-great-grandmother diet.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't around when your great-great-great-great-grandmother was around, then you shouldn't be having it.
That's for sure, because the modern food is killing us, no doubt about it. Yeah.
But, you know, it is the new year, and many people are starting the new year with an idea of, you know, how do I work towards increasing my health or regaining my physique of an earlier me. And I'm telling you guys that the lifestyle that we're trying to share with you guys is your best ticket to kind of regrouping, you know, rewilding yourself and coming back to a better version of yourself.
Everything points to it. The latest research shows a low-carb diet also comes with a myriad of other health benefits, such as improved blood pressure, triglycerides, cardiovascular disease, cognitive function, and reduced inflammation. But really, it's about the brain, I think, too.
I think so. And, you know, just to even further define it, a low-carb diet or its cousins, the very low-carb ketogenic diet, so we can look at it as a scale, you know, kind of how we do. Each of the scale is how much,
well, you find different people have a different tolerance for how much fat they need as fuel. So if you're not as active, you don't eat as much fat. If you're very active, you're going to burn more fuel, higher fat. I probably eat a lot more higher fat than somebody else who's, you know, in the office most of the day. And that's kind of the way it works. So very low carb. It really depends on how active you are.
It's a personal primal choice. And you know, we keep it personal here.
Exactly.
And it does have to be personal. It's not just what Nico does or what I do. It's what's going to work best for you. But we can help. So
877-927-6648. And that's the number. So we'll be right back, folks.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Check out the new look of Tiger TV. Now you can see all hosts, charts, and computer screens live in high definition. Whether it's Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, David White, Larry Pezzamento, Andy Hecht, Thinkorswim, or Daryl Martin, you can catch all of our technicians hosting their programs live and archived on Tiger TV. Now, crystal clear in high definition, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you haven't seen the new look of Tiger TV, then visit TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investments, and whether you're bullish or bearish on Chinese stocks, the ETFs from Direction Shares are there to help you magnify your perspective. Bull ETFs for a rising market and bear ETFs for a falling market. Direction Shares gives you the tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows, and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Nico and Paige here on Living a Primal Lifestyle. So in the last segment, we were talking about how great low-fat diets were and extremely low-fat diets.
Carbs.
Carbs. Yeah,
let's get that. We were talking about the fact that low-carb, the primal, paleo, ketogenic diets of varying ratios are what we believe are the healthiest diets at this point.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And this new article that I have is called High Fat Healing, and I found it quite interesting.
It's from Green Med Info. As you guys know, Green Med Info, Sayer G, publishes alternative research that's found in the mainstream research, the PubMed. So, but it doesn't get publicized because there's not money behind it, but this is great stuff, guys.
Yeah, this is really important, that low fat is a healthy diet is what the mainstream has always been saying. And these are the same people 30 years ago used to argue or urge us to eat plenty of meat and cheese. And they shifted to encourage us towards vegetables and low-fat salad dressing and things like that. As the tide is turning once again, there's a great deal of emphasis on the importance of good fats and essential fatty acids. Most notably is the omega-3 kind. My point here is that it is foolish to establish absolute and narrow rules, especially about a single ingredient in diets.
Okay, so let's clarify that. So really, what Sayer's saying here is that we have to keep a contextual, view of this in context. Again, when we talk exclusively about high fat, it's got to be the right kind of fat, right? Yes. And so, for example, low-fat diet is good for people who have eaten lots of meat and cheese and fat during their lives. It will help them rebalance and return to a more healthful equilibrium for a period, for a season. for a season.
It's the seasonal thing that's really important.
On the other hand, a low-fat diet is bad for people who have been eating raw foods, fruits and vegetables for most of their lives, and they don't have enough of the energy-producing and structural building blocks that healthy fats provide. So not only that, a high-fat diet is good for people with neurological disorders, particularly seizures, and especially for those who have been vaccinated, because what we're seeing is damaged cell membrane integrity. Yeah. If we want to say cell wall function, membrane, there's even some people that question whether or not there's really a wall. It's a bilipid layer. It's a, I like to talk about it as the cell wall functioning, the in and out, controlling the internal environment and the external environment of the cell. That becomes damaged without proper fats.
Yeah, and you can see how that works. And then if it doesn't recognize what's good or bad, it lets anything in, and this is how we get into trouble on a cellular level. I guess we went into the show a little bit too early. My producer's just saying, hey, you went in too early. So
we did?
About that.
Oh,
yeah,
what? Oh, so we got cut off.
Yeah. So,
okay, that's all right.
Yeah, like fasting, the low, switching your diet produces ketosis. Fat burnings. So whichever way you go, if you're eating lots of carbs and you go to a more low carb, that can help you produce a little more ketones, more fat burning, that type of thing.
So the ketones is an alternative fuel source as opposed to glucose, and we see this being us being adapted to using it as a food source. And
see, I think the alternative really is the other way around. I think initially that human beings are naturally beginning as a fat burner. In other words, the fat cells are what we're using as fuel. So I think of it the other way around. I don't think the fat is the alternative fuel. I think that's the number one fuel, and the alternative fuel is the sugar.
I see what you're saying. In other words,
and not to say that you're wrong. This is how mainstream thinks of it.
Right. And I'm agreeing with you in that what I mean is that we have historically, we were mostly by design designed to run like this. It just makes intuitive sense. Yeah. If there were no packaged processed foods in an earlier life and so forth, and sugar-related foods that turn into sugar or utilize the glucose.
Yeah, well, in the wild, you're not going to find too many carbs. You're going to find some, but you're not going to eat a lot because they don't taste that great.
Right.
Yeah, and they're going to be used more as medicine and transitions.
Non-vegetable-based carbs is where we get into trouble. So if you just think
that's for sure, yeah.
And I like that.
Exactly right.
I like saying non-vegetable-based carbs because that kind of lets you realize we're talking about process. The other ones are the processed carbs.
Yeah, and some of them are the fruits
carbs,
too.
And the fruit.
Yeah, but if you eat fruit seasonally, though, like you said before, seasonally is where it's at, you would get that, and it would kind of put you in a different state to get ready for the next season.
Or even as part of a seasonal cleanse.
Yeah,
exactly. There's a lot of fruits that can provide great organ gland targeting.
Yeah, and on the chat room they're saying too, you get essential fats from fruits and things like that. You actually get more essential fats from animals. Fruits and vegetables are non-essential fats. There is no essential carbohydrate. There is only essential fats. There's only essential proteins. You can live without carbs.
Okay, Confetti Wars, we're going on a break, but we'll come back and talk about that just a little bit. So see you after the break. Give us a call, 877-927-6648. We're here for you.
Okay. We won't be cut off next time. But I will have to call.
You've heard Nico de Haan as co-host of Living a Primal Lifestyle, which airs every Friday at noon Eastern Time on TFNN, and would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today. Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And welcome back. And we've been talking a little bit about high-fat healing, and we got some comments in the chat room. You know, Nico, one of our listeners is asking us, you know, what about elephants and oxes? They're both vegans. Why do we insist that we need to eat animals? We've been talking a little bit about essential fatty acids being a necessary nutrient. And so let's.
Well, there are certainly some fruits that have good essential fatty acids. There's some seeds, you know, avocado, coconut they mentioned, and those are great. Of course, they're not too great if you're living up in Michigan, because you're not going to grow avocados and coconuts there. So it's where you live that makes a difference. In Florida, you know, if you were native to Florida and you're eating from this area, you know, coconuts really aren't native to Florida either.
Well, they're not native to
and neither are avocados.
To Scotland either.
Right.
So why did people turn to I call them the animal concentrators, who often ate the plants, as he said, and then through their own conversions have converted, and in their meat we often find some of the essential fatty acids. You know, the fish that eat the wildlife and produce the
fish that eat krill.
Right. Right.
They're nice fatty acids.
And you know, one of my favorite choices for a DHA is actually the algae, an algae-based krill.
Right.
I do recommend and use that for enhancing DHA. But what I do want people to understand is that, again, there are a lot of issues, as you know, if you are a vegan, with your ability to convert. Some people do a poor conversion of the essential fatty acids that they're getting from their plant sources.
Yeah, especially
not as
flax
efficient.
seeds is very hard for us to convert it over.
And that's why we want them to be fresh ground, or we want an oil that we know that's not rancid. But then, I also want to put out there, and maybe some of you have been aware that, you've heard me talk a little bit about, two sides of the fence, and I'm the first person that tries hard, like our first article, not to stand, in a side that one view is the absolute truth. As you know, I study scientists that believe that essential fatty acids or parent essential oils, like Dr. Brian Peskin's work, it fascinates me. He says that the world is overdosing on supplement-based essential fatty acids and so forth.
Omega-3s,
DHA and EPA, yes, omega-3s. He says, believe it or not, we're overdosing. It provides a very interesting article. Then on the other side of the fence, you got Ray Peat, who says anyone who's taking seeds, nuts, and they're getting PUFAs, or polyunsaturated fatty acids, which go rancid in the body, and that by eating the animals, they're protected and they're in the meat, they're already broken down, versus the oils and seeds. So
one thing I noticed too with your essential fatty acids, if you haven't been on a supplement and you start the supplement, I think as your body gets used to that, you're easier at converting things. So I think you essentially have to take a little bit more, but then, like I was used to take 6 and 8 a day of the omega-3s, and now I'm down to 2.
Right.
And I'm operating just fine because I'm getting more from the food that I'm eating. But there's also an ethical part to being a vegan or a vegetarian, where you don't want animals being killed. And I understand that. Yeah. I think also if you're eating just vegetables that you can pick and fruits and not going to the agricultural foods like the grains, I think you can be healthy and be a vegetarian. But the grain part of the whole thing, that really kills a lot more animals, a lot more species, because when you're monocrop and you lay down a field of wheat or rice or sorghum or anything like that, corn, you're killing many more species than if you're just hunting.
Yeah.
I think if you're living up in the North Pole, you're not going to be eating too much of the fruits and vegetables. If you're eating in the Amazon, you're going to be eating a lot more. But you'll find that the people in the Amazon, the native people there, eat a lot of protein and supplement fats.
And I think that it's important for us to try and move away from a step of judgment and try and look at this. There are some beautifully spiritually oriented people who have eaten meat. They've been very thankful, and they've been mindful and respectful. Different Indians and traditional cultures. In fact, Dr. Weston A. Price, in his 1,000-page seminal work of nutrition and physical degeneration, showed that there were absolutely no vegan populations that thrived naturally. Natural indigenous people that were vegans naturally, that were thrivers. Yeah. So I'm not saying that you can't if you're very cautious and very aware, but...
well, I do know plenty of vegans and vegetarians that are very healthy and they're late in life. So I've seen that myself. I can't do that. I feel much better on the way I'm eating now. But, we've got to realize a few things that, I think it's the respect you have for the wildlife. And how you manage them and let them be wild, the slaughtering of the cattle and how we're doing it in the mainstream.
Well, if you're really worried about conscious beings, we went through that article in the show about the consciousness of plants.
That's right.
And the singing plants, and that they actually believe the plants have, feelings too. Where do we draw the line on sentient beings, and where do we stop that? But I think the real important point is wherever you are on that spectrum of vegan, breatharian, to vegan, to vegetarian, to pescatarian, to paleo, to primal, to ketogenic, wherever you are, let's not lose sight of the need to unite in unethical foods, whether it be,
there you go. That's the whole bottom line right there.
The corporatism of our food, the genetic modification of our food, the toxicity, the pesticide injection of our food to turn it into something that our bodies don't recognize. I don't think there's anyone on that spectrum, whether you are a breatharian or a primal paleo ketogenic person, we need to find the common points that we agree on and stay together and fight those battles instead of dividing and conquering on because we are going to have different reasons on what, might be healthy sources. And also, guys, it's not
we're
always
really on the same side of the fence, is the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, the processed, packaged, boxed and bagged, genetically modified, processed, toxic food or food-like merchandise is what none of us want, whatever our choices are on what the percentage is of our macronutrients and where we get them.
Yeah, and Confetti Wars is the saying, I'm not talking about the corporate mining of agriculture, I'm talking about a balanced ecosystem, growing diversity, and that's really what we're talking about too, but not in the agricultural area. I'm more talking about the way the American Indian may have done it, where we kind of manage the land, but it's still wild. We're not planting anything, we're encouraging things of the plant. We're encouraging growth, but we're not really planting anything. And I think the wild environment really balances things out, and from that you eat. And from that, yes, I would be doing the animals. He wouldn't be doing the animals. Fine with me. We can live side by side. I don't have a problem with that. More vegetables for him and more animals for me.
And I'm a little bit somewhere in between.
You're somewhere in between.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people like that.
And that's the thing. And let's work towards, acceptance and teamwork in making sure that we are, of whatever foods we're choosing, that we get the healthiest versions of those and the versions that we were actually meant to thrive on.
And there's a lot happening in our world now where a lot of cities are really looking at the cities becoming their own ecosystem, where we're planting things in buildings, so everything is kind of melting together.
We have a great thing that's just been launched in Dunedin. The Dunedin Food Co-op, Bree's established some things with the local merchant restaurants, because we have such a little metropolis of cute little restaurants. And if you're a co-op member and you're buying local from the co-op, you get a little ID card. And when you eat in any of the restaurants, because the restaurants are now buying as much of their produce that they can from the co-op,
such a cool place.
And you flash your little card and you get 10% off of your meal.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful.
So I think what we're talking about is the same thing. We don't want big fields of corn. We don't want Monsanto polluting the whole world. I just read an article yesterday about the oceans, that we're almost at the point of no return with many, many species. Those are the things we don't want. And, this overfishing, over agriculture, over population of cows in one place. I mean, I'm not for any of that. And I think, so that's the common ground that we have. We do away with that, and I think we can see things a lot differently.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Are we going to go over our wonderful newsletter, or is that next segment?
Let's do that.
For those of you who have not taken a look at our Health Signals newsletter, comes out twice a month.
Yes.
It is filled with great articles. Nico and I look at stuff all week. And
I think this is one of the best ones I've done.
He just puts it together beautifully with clickable links to a lot of the video, which really makes it easy for you to follow along with the conversation, stay connected, get involved in the little movement that we've got going on.
So we start off with the origins of human alcohol revealed. This was quite an eye-opening one.
I like the way it says that probably alcohol consumption evolved because our ancestors likely had to make the most out of the rotting fermented food that they had available to them.
They probably had some animals eating that stuff too and laying on the ground having a ball. There's a great video in here about cancer myths, renegade MDs healing the incurable. It's on the same page, on page 2. I would encourage you to do that. An article about This Is Your Brain on Paleo and how great the results have been and why.
Why we're seeing major mainstream medical doctors that are actually endorsing, embracing the lifestyle that we've been talking to you guys about for years. Paleo, primal, ancestral diet, higher fat, moderate carbs and protein. So get on the same page. No pun intended.
The dangers of hydrogenated soybean oil, and an article about will red meat really kill you, with lots of links.
And before you go on to that, the dangers of hydrogenated soybean oil, a lot of people go, well, I don't eat that. If you eat in an American restaurant,
you're going to get that.
You're getting hydrogenated oil. Just go to the back of any restaurant and look at their garbage bin, and you'll see these huge plastic tubs of the hydrogenated soybean oil.
If they're frying something in any restaurant, they're going to be using that.
And I'll submit to you that when you think you're getting vegetables, if you don't ask that they be water steamed, they're going to come out with a little bit of a sheen to them. And you might think, oh, wow, they're using olive oil. They're not. They're misting their grill with this hydrogenated soybean oil. You want to make that request that you're that you don't tolerate toxic vegetable oils, and that to make sure and serve your vegetables dry.
Yeah. So these couple of articles with what we were talking about, will red meat really kill you? And the next article is actually raising beef is really good for the planet. A couple of interesting
kind of
articles.
Going back to that article that we've talked about a number of times, that having these grazing areas, well, that goes back to Joel Salatine's lessons.
Yeah.
You know, his book, Folks, This Just Ain't Normal, but he shows how you let the cows graze, and then the cows poop, and then the chickens and the pigs come and
the
push
chickens
it
come
around.
in first and spread their dung all around and scratch and eat the bugs, and then the pigs come in and start rooting everything and tilling the soil. Then you leave it alone for a while, and you start the whole process over again. A very nice, inventive way. So on page 9 here, we've got preventing vitamin B12 deficiency, which may be a problem if you're
especially if you're following a vegan lifestyle.
Yeah, where are you going to get your vitamin B12 from?
Which is and even those people, I like to caution people that come to my office, if you are a vegan and you're a client of mine, what's to diagnose? It's very unlikely that you're having an adequate B12 diet, supplement, unless you are supplementing. But the key, folks, is understanding some of these epigenetic factors, which I work with people on, the things above the genes. And if you don't have it, even if you do get it in some form, as the supplement companies are providing it to you, can you use it? And I say, for most people, they cannot.
Right.
That is why we, in the Primal Edge, made sure that the fully reduced forms were added, because I personally believe that my third child experienced birth defects, cleft lip and palate, and an eyelid thing, due to the fact that I was B12 folate deficient. Remember, this is before they were adding folic acid, which is a toxin. We need that out of the vitamins, folate, folic acid. So, folks, just be mindful that these B vitamins are very important for us, and we've put the very best forms in our product.
Question in the chat room is where do whales, elephants, and gazelles, I guess, and get
cattle.
Cattle get their Bs? Well, they don't get their B12. They convert it themselves. They have three stomachs.
They have the ability. They have the ability to synthesize this, which we do not. We do not synthesize this. It is.
He says, I myself used to believe that vegans were freaks, but now I understand that humans are not meant to eat products from animals. Not only is it bad for cholesterol, the animal's revenge, but you don't...
but if you don't have an understanding of conscious beings, you have not yet arrived. All this stuff I say is in the Upanishads and the Vedics. This is why the Buddha says, thou shalt not kill the animal.
Right, except maybe humans. And that's, of course, not the guy in the chat room, naturally. But, I really do believe that human beings, if we weren't meant to eat animal protein of any kind, that we probably wouldn't have the stomach that we have. Because if you look at a dog's stomach, if you look at any predator's stomach that eats animals, you'll find hydrochloric acid. When you look at the stomach of a gorilla, if you look at a stomach of a elephant, of the cows, they don't have hydrochloric acid.
Right.
Okay, so if we were meant to eat what they eat, we would not have hydrochloric acid. We do have a high concentration of hydrochloric acid in our stomachs because we can do pretty much what dogs used to do, maybe not in the modern world.
And as you know, we've talked about the high incidence of disease, particularly around people that are getting parasitical infections, ordering salads in restaurants that are being processed on unclean environments, usually from meats and everything, because they don't have the hydrochloric acid to disinfect their food.
We'll be back in a few minutes, folks. We'll continue this.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every...
folks. Okay, let's continue with the newsletter instead of doing the battle with vegan. It really doesn't matter to me. You should go with your heart, and if you're eating healthy food, that's what the name of the game
and
is
that's
for
the thing.
me.
That's the thing that we want to encourage, guys, is that we find the common grounds of good, healthy foods. There's a lot of food that's not good for either person, a vegan or a primal person.
Okay, so in the newsletter, I put a whole section about fingerprints of the global cataclysm at 12,800 years ago, the stuff with Graham Hancock.
Yeah, so Graham Hancock is basically, for those of you that may have heard the show last week, is a little, there was actually evidence that there really was a cataclysmic event that happened that changed and perhaps buried ancient knowledge, and that we are actually still just trying to recover from things that we may have already
known. So on page 11, I put Magicians of the Gods, Snapshot in Progress. It's a work in progress. This is the next book. I put the whole talk in there. There's a section about the thickening of the Antarctic ice. Wow. Which was interesting. And then after that, I put Ben Davidson, the Suspicious Observer, a little bit about him and a few of the links so you can get educated about how to view the sun and the earth and how it relates to weather and earthquakes on Earth here. Very cool.
Okay, now let me tell you about Ben Davidson.
Very cool guy.
Okay. I've sent you the links to hiddenmeetings.com, okay? Yeah. And that's Bill Donahue. Yeah. And he explains that, the tie-in with all of what we're seeing, the nebulas, and that they're actually, he basically is interpreting the book of Revelations for us and explaining that it's all happening astrophysically, Suspicious Observer. And he talks about the tie-in of the book of Revelation, and that Ben Davidson, do you see what we're talking about? David's son, the son of David.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and that would be so you got to make sure you catch up on those videos.
And a few other articles that we talked about on the show that we didn't go into real depth with. Fitness for Survival from Danny, and some things about hunter-gatherers that show the difference in the bones to modern people when they started farming. We actually deteriorated in health.
That makes a lot of sense because we know that today, if we're engaging and enjoying weight-bearing exercise, simply walking, doing stairs, climbing, crawling, very much like our ancestral people would have done, that is the best thing we can do for bone metabolism and building, along with dietary sources. And we, again, we see a lot of fat-soluble nutrition optimally found in animal foods that tends to produce higher quality bone.
I agree.
And, we need the minerals too. So
I want to explain something too. Eat more from animals. Confetti Wars is saying you have more acidic foods. There's no doubt about that. And
there's nothing more acidic than grains.
Yeah, grains are the most acidic. Animals are probably right in the middle. Vegetables and fruits are less acidic.
For example, a grass-fed steak is not an acidic piece of meat in the same way on the scale. And, folks, a lot of people misunderstand the acid-alkaline balance. Being in a state of alkalosis is extremely dangerous and just as detrimental and a sign of cell changes. So let's put it that way. People have misunderstood that we are, that the alkaline acid balance is exactly that, a balance.
Yeah.
And,
anyway, we'll discuss that a little bit more on the next show. I wanted to give you a couple of primal recipes. The one I'm going to go when I get home, a primal egg cafe frappe.
Coffee frappe.
Coffee frappe, excuse me.
Yummy.
Yeah, it looks awesome, so I'm going to do that. There's some another recipe in there, and there's some great exercises in here, just standard, easy-to-do exercises. And
like always, great newsletter, guys.
And if you think adventure is dangerous, try routine. It's lethal.
There you go. You got to shake it up a little bit, guys.
Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week, and we'll go in a little bit of the thing about the acid and all these different things.
Yeah, we'll pick up where we left off. I'm going to snap a picture of your comments, Confetti Wars, and we'll pick it up. We ran out of time. You guys have a great weekend.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his Opening Call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the Opening Call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.